Hello class, this is your Wednesday/Thursday video for creative writing. So we're going to start off with talking about with some good sources to use. You can always use .edu, you can use Google Scholar. Try to find sites that don't look sketchy like history.com, science websites that are, from, like I said, universities, or that don't seem super sketchy. Maybe you can ask Miss Wood if there's one that she prefers other than Wikipedia. And then we're going to be practicing some works cited stuff. I want you guys to go ahead and send me your sources today, and I want you guys to write them in MLA, like the end works cited page citations, because that's really what you guys seem to struggle with in your last paper, and I really kind of want to get this down. So, So your website article with an author. So if you get on there, we've done this before, we looked for an author, and sometimes they have them and sometimes they don't have a person that wrote it, a specific name of a person that wrote it. So if they do, though, you can use their last name, comma, their first name, period, the article in quotations, and then the publisher, comma, date published, comma, the URL, which is that http www.scienceforkids.texas.edu, then that would be that, and then the date that you accessed it, and then the web. Remember that date accessed, we still kind of write that like a, I'm going to send you guys a link on how to do this you can always look at Al Purdue, and you can always do it that way. And then if you have almost no author, the title of the article will be in quotes, publisher, comma, date, comma, or publisher, comma, date published, comma, the URL, and then the period, the date accessed. And then typically, like normal, we would add a web down here. That's something I always have you guys do. That's how I was taught how to do it. Nowadays, I don't think everybody requires that necessarily, but in case you come across another teacher that does, you'll know how to do it. I promise that'll be a skill you'll use forever more, is that. So I'm going to send you guys, in case you use a citation that I didn't put on here, like an ebook off of Google Scholar, or you just happen to find one online that you really like, an ebook or a PDF of that, then I'll send you guys how to do an ebook on that Al Purdue, and there's a big long list, and you can just scroll through and find the exact way to do it. It's like a formula, and it shows you how it would be done, and you would just plug your information in there, just like you would a math formula. So the other thing that you're going to turn in today, we're going to look at we've done this before here, our plot map. This is our setting. So this is where our setting's introduced. It's the exposition. It's where our setting and our characters are going to be introduced. Ooh, you can't see that probably. Setting, characters. This is our rising action, our climax, our falling action, and then our resolution. How does this thing finally resolve? So I'm going to send you guys a video, that same video I sent you guys before, about the arc of stories, and like the arcs of the 8 arc thing that you use. And so always you're going to have a setting. So we think of the giver. The setting for the giver, and it's called a dystopian society. So futuristic society, those don't actually exist here in our current present day. And the main character that we know about is Jonas. That's we get his mainstream thoughts. We really don't get the thoughts of other people. We get all from our point of view that we're reading the story from, is Jonas's point of view. That's who we're reading the story. We know his thoughts. We know his feelings. We can only know characters through Jonas's eyes. So we only know what Lily's like through Jonas's eyes. We only know what his mother's like from Jonas's perspective. We only know what Asher's like from Jonas's perspective, and what he's heard other people say about Asher. But we don't know what Asher feels, and we don't know what Asher always says back to Jonas. So we're going to cut down on the amount of dialogue, such as Susie said, "Hey Jane, how are you?" And then you say back, "Lola says," or we had Jane up there. Jane says, "Hey Susie, I'm good," or "I am good." We don't want that the whole story. That doesn't tell a story well. It just doesn't. Reading back and forth dialogue, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that's really hard to read. So if you're ever going to write a play, or if you're going to write something that's going to be like a television series, that would be lovely. But for the sake of this, that won't be necessary. So we're going to cut down on that. So today I want you to send me who your characters are. Your main character. I want to know who your main character is. I'm just going to use the giver for my example here. So Jonas is the main giver character. The setting we know is futuristic. So I don't know the exact year, but if you're going to do something in the next, like let's say I just want to write about like what next year will be like, a story about next year, then you can say it's going to be 2021 or something like that. But if you're going way back in time, you're going to the Roaring Twenties, then we could say we're going back to 1920s. You can know that year. Then I also want your web sources. I want you to send me that. And that's all for this Wednesday. Now I'm going to go back through on how to do this works cited page, or not works cited, your outline. Because you're going to turn that in between today and Friday. So you'll start writing your story, actually writing it next week. And it's only going to be, once again, I'm cutting you off at a page and a half. You cannot write past that. Do not write past the page and a half. Only write the page, please, and maybe like a few sentences on the next page. So that way I can see that you wrote a whole page, but don't write past a page and a half. It's too long to read. I want a very clear introduction, rising action, problem, falling action, resolution. I want that very clear. I want it clear that you've researched what time period you're going to. That'll be a little bit harder for the futuristic people if you're doing that option. Maybe you're doing like space travel and find some stuff from NASA. I don't know. But I want it very clear that you have researched it and put it in there, because that is just a big push right now in education, is to do creative writing based off of research. So I really want you guys to be practicing that. So let's get to your outline here. We're going to have our body, paragraph 1. Or, I don't know where my brain is. Sorry, that's not true. We're going to our intro. Okay. You're going to your intro. Da-da-da. So your hook sentence, you can just write, maybe you can say, if you're going to do one in the Roaring Twenties, in 1920, Lola found herself sitting alone in a room, but all of a sudden she heard a jazz-like sound coming from her window. I don't know, something to that extent. The background, so this you can dive into a little bit more of where she is, her setting. So she's living in New York City, and she can see the Statue of Liberty from her bedroom, and the immigrants coming from Ellis Island. And your topic sentence, how does she get to her? Maybe you're doing that and she's going forward. I don't know, but or let's just go back and say that we're in now times. So your hook might be that Lily is sitting in her room in Dayton, Tennessee, and then all of a sudden she hears a big thump in the backyard. She goes to the backyard and sees a big box with wheels on it, and she wonders how this big box with wheels got there, and she walks out and she sees that it is a time traveling machine. So that would be your background for this. We have our hook, she hears the big thump, our background, this is what's causing the rest of this, and then her topic sentence. She gets in the box and she presses the buttons 19, 20 in on the keypad. And then transition. Then off to 1920 she travels. Something like that. Alright. We're moving on to body paragraph 1 here, people. A, B, C. So these are just this is your main sentence, your hook here, once again, your main, this is your main sentence. And these are pretty much your supporting details. So this is just your, Alright, I'm going to, even though it should be one big, long thing on your paper, I'm going to, so pretend that this is being written underneath here in the empty space. I'm going to have to move it up here for this lack of space. So, body paragraph 2 here. Alright. So once again, we're going to have our main sentence for that one. You'll have a transition in between your body paragraph 1 and your body paragraph 2. So once we've transitioned now, and in our body paragraph, we have arrived in 1920s. The people are wearing cute hats, long gloves, shimmering outfits, and they are listening to jazz music and dancing the night away. But here's where we get to our but. There has been a problem. The problem is she cannot get back. As wonderful as this world is, she starts to see some of the pitfalls of it. She starts to see that there's no cell phones here in this world of 1920s. She doesn't know how long the economy's going to last. They're moving right into a depression there. And she kind of sees, like, oh, these people don't live how I live, and I want to go back home. But she's stuck, and she can't get back. Her time machine is broken. What is she going to do to fix it? And then maybe that's where we get a little creative, and who can fix the time machine back then? What's an inventor that was around in 1920 that she could go to, a scientist that she could go to? Maybe that's somewhere where your research comes in. So here's and then we have our transition from our biparagraph 2 to our conclusion. So this one's a little bit different. Restate, resolve, the end, basically. So restate, even though all these grand things happened to her, she's just so thankful to be home. Her life feels complete now that she has seen this other world, and she is thankful for where she's at now, and that is how the story ends, and she will never take for granted where she lives now. So that is your Wednesday and Thursday video.